everybody, this is Nick.
And this is Mike.
And we're from the band Elder. We're doing a little quarantine rig rundown for you today. How's it going, Mike?
It's going quite well. Thank you for asking.
Cool. So let's get straight to it. Do you want to tell me something about the guitar that you're playing?
Sure, yeah. This is a guitar my friends made for me. It's a Stoll Guitars based out of Connecticut. I used to work at a guitar store in New London, Connecticut called Spindrift Guitars. And my boss there, Michael Whitney and Mark Stolison, made this for me right before I joined Elder. And it's essentially just a Telecaster, but it is a very nice Telecaster. It is one-piece Swamp Ash, Brazilian Rosewood fingerboard, one-piece torrefied maple neck, which is incredibly light and actually very good for touring because it's less resistant to humidity and climate changes. Other things, Glendale Bridge, Mark and Whit cut the Bakelite pickguard out of it. Whit and I hand wound the pickups, and that's pretty much it.
So you actually built the guitar yourself, right?
I didn't build the guitar, no.
Oh, okay.
Mark and Whit at Stoll Guitars built this for me. I just helped out. They just let me help them build the pickups to make me feel good about myself.
Mike's something like our guitar tech for the band and also amp tech end. He's kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to the technical stuff that neither Jack nor I, nor Georg as a drummer knows how to do. So, but what made you choose a Telecaster in playing in a rock band like Elder?
Well, I got this guitar, or I ordered this guitar before I joined the band, and that's pretty much it. But I like country music. I like jazz. I like rock. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife guitar. You can kind of fix it with a spoon if it breaks. But I was listening to a lot more, Bill Frisell and stuff like that, Julian Lage, Jacob Bro and stuff like that before I joined the band. And, they were kind of my guitar heroes, and they all play Teles. And I don't know. I just think they're cool. They're just beautifully simple. And it kind of works well on the... I don't think this is necessarily the ideal guitar for Elder, but I think it kind of works because, you have a humbucker guitar. I have a single coil guitar, and it kind of stays slightly out of the, frequency range or whatever. And it's just my only guitar. So.
Not the ideal guitar for Elder. All right, that's good.
I don't know.
Already going down the right path here.
I don't know if it is. I mean, I don't have another guitar. But it's just a really nice Telecaster, and it sounds good, and, that's... Yeah.
All right, cool. I guess we're going to move on to the Amplifier next of all. And you want to just tell me about everything you're playing through today, one by one?
Sure. So this amp I actually built under the guidance of my former boss at Spindrift Guitars, Mike Whitney. This is essentially one of his circuits. It's a dual voice 66R, which is kind of like a Swiss Army knife Marshall amp. It's got kind of like a JTM 45, and then you can kick in this other gain stage to get JCM 800 like tones, etc. And it's foot switchable. And also, I love reverb, so I actually never use this with Elder, but it has a built-in 3-knob reverb unit, kind of like a Fender standalone reverb unit built into it, which is just cool. It sounds great, clean, and distorted. And,
it's pretty nice and light, too.
It's super small. Yeah, I built it so we could actually, fly with it and not have it, be that big. And then Mark Stolson carved this for me. It's a little crystal. It's cool. It's a great amp.
Is there a meaning behind the crystal for you, or what's the...
No,
what's the story?
No, it just looks really cool. It's a crystal.
No Grateful Dead lore that has...
it's a Herkimer diamond. It's one of the purest of crystals out there.
So there's a little... Every once in a while you can see Mike wearing a crystal underneath that shirt of his, but It looks like he's not wearing it today.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a good small amp, and it can cover a lot of different, sounds, which is for us moving forth. It has a great clean sound and distorted sound, which is foot switchable. Currently, which I do not have the foot switch for it, so... But that's pretty much it. It's EL34, 50 watt. You can run 6L6s in it, and point to point and all that crap. So
cool. How about your cabinet?
This is a high watt 412 that the nice people up at High Watt kind of hooked us up with. Currently, it's loaded with Warehouse guitar speakers. Thank you, Daniel from Warehouse Guitar Speakers. Both of our cabs are wired in an X pattern, and this has 2 of the Warehouse guitar speakers Invader 50s, which are like 50-watt greenback style speakers. And then in my cab, I have 2 of their C12S speakers, which are kind of a smooth cone Jensen speakers. I grew up playing Fender amps, so it's a little more in the Fender territory, if you will. But aside from that, it's just a 412. It sounds really great. Also, we wired them up with a 3-input in the back, so you can split. You can run one head just to run 2 speakers at once, or another 2 speakers. Or if you want, which we haven't done this yet, which we kind of hopefully will get into, you could actually run 2 amp heads into this cab and have a kind of a compact stereo rig, and have, just cover a lot of sonic territory that way.
We like to give ourselves excuses to carry around as much heavy equipment as possible.
Yeah. But it's just, they're great speakers, and it's a great cab, and I don't know, it says High on it. It looks cool. It's a speaker cabinet. It's great. That's pretty much it for that. There's something
All right. Shall we move on to your pedal board?
Let's move on, yeah. So down here, first it comes from a guitar, and then it goes into this active volume pedal by Bloomery, I think is the company. It has a nice little wood top. It's very nice looking. But it's a volume pedal, and then that goes right into, or at least currently, into a wah pedal. So this is the clean tone. And then it goes into a wah, which is an RMC3 wah pedal made by Teese Custom, I believe. It's a wah pedal. And then from this goes into this Zvex Distorstron, which I got for like $50 at a pawn shop in New London. Which I just started using again. It's actually really a good pedal. But this works really well as kind of as a preamp for me, because these are very low output pickups, so it kind of helps push my signal through all this cable and crap. That just gives a very nice chunk to it. Currently, the Zvex goes into this Moon Vibe, which is arguably my favorite pedal and most hated pedal by others. But this is a Univibe pedal. It's I don't know, it's the only Univibe pedal I've actually owned, but it's one of the nicest Univibe pedals. And on Univibes, they have 2 modes. They have the chorus and vibrato mode, and this is the only Univibe pedal where you can switch between the 2 modes with your foot, which is awesome. So you get the classic sort of like.
I see the big knob on the right. Is that so that you can actually like toggle the settings on the fly with your foot while you're playing?
This one is speed control, so which is actually very useful. So this is the Hendrix kind of sound. And then I use this other setting. I actually don't know. I don't know if it's the chorus mode or whatever, but I use this pretty often, just very slow. Just kind of gives a little wiggle to everything, you know. It also functions as a boost to also further push stuff downstream. From here, we currently go into this Hudson Broadcast, which is new. I got this when we were on tour in Porto, and I forget his name, but the guy at Strat Gear, who's like a boutique pedal store, actually delivered to me by him. He's a super cool dude. I forget his name, but thank you to that dude.
Thank you, cool dude.
Yeah, thank you, cool
Who
dude.
shall remain unnamed.
Stratgear.com. Check them out. They're really nice. But this is a really cool pedal. I actually use this a lot on the forthcoming album. As you know, it's kind of a lighter distortion. got 2 channels. So
Is there anything different between this and a regular fuzz or distortion pedal? Does it have any sort of like different guts to it?
You know, Nick, actually it does. Instead of transistor-based distortion, it's, I believe, has a transformer in it to kind of emulate like maybe old Neve consoles, hence the broadcast, I think, or like old radio consoles. This is apparently made in the UK, but it's a really
kind of like the JHS color box then? I think that's also like a Neve console bass pedal.
I don't know. I've never played that. But yeah, I mean, those are both similar.
It's got good tone shaping capabilities. I remember when we were recording the record, there was a lot of versatility out of that one, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also great because it is 2 channels. So, you know, if you really want to juice it up, you know, channel 2. I don't know. It just sounds great. And it also works well with all the other pedals. It's just a little more clear than other fuzz pedals and such, which is great. So, yeah, I'm excited to use that on the road. But yeah, this is all over the new album. And then
cool. What's after that in the chain?
After this, we go down to this pedal, which is a Creepy Fingers sound distorter pedal. This is made by Brad, from the bassist of Fu Manchu, who's this really nice dude. And this is based off a Colour Fuzz that I think he designed, or I believe that he designed with the guitarist of the band Dunyan, Reinafisk. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
I didn't know there was any connection between those.
Yeah, so this is like essentially a fuzz face pedal, but just like a little different. Also capable of a bunch of different sounds. It's got a bias control, so you can get that sort of, you know, shitty Velcro sound.
That's cool. It's kind of like the amp is sputtering out and dying.
Yeah, it sounds like a
very classic.
I never actually use it like that.
You should use it. It's cool.
It's just a good sounding. It sounds like just a badass fuzz face.
You have a lot of gain stages, one after the other. How are you using those on the tracks or like in live performance? Is there like specific functions for all of that?
Well, I mean, with the new stuff, for sure. I mean, the forthcoming album, which nobody's heard yet, I just kind of, I mean, this pedal actually is often on a lot of times. So a lot of times we'll actually set the amp to be relatively clean, or at least in our relative terms, and then have the distortion tone coming from a pedal. And then that way, when you step on a further distortion pedal downstream, you actually have a lot more headroom to kind of pop out. Because if your amp is super distorted already, you really can't get any louder or dynamics out of it. It just turns to mud.
It's basically the way I've been playing for like almost the entire career of Elder.
Yeah. So, I mean, I come from a different background. So I grew up, or before I joined Elder, I was playing like a lot of psychedelic country, Grateful Dead type music, super clean shit. So coming to this band, everything was super distorted and
life-changing.
Yes. Deep revelations. But yeah, it's mostly, this board is just a bunch of different gain pedals with slightly different textures and sounds.
All right, so what's after the Creepy Fingers?
So after this, we go into a basic audio Scarab Deluxe, which I believe is a tone bender bass circuit, just with a bunch of controls. Right now I have the fuzz almost all the way off. So pretty similar to this, just a little bit more sharp. But it can also just do really heavy, doomy shit.
That's the fuzz pedal you kick on when it's time for a real doom riff.
Fuck yeah. It's pretty sweet.
super woolly, even for a single coil pickup. It sounds really thick. Yeah.
And that's why I tend to use like something like this to kind of push everything through. 'Cause these are very, yeah, whatever. I think these are about 7.5K output. Say I'm the nerd. So
I know exactly what he's talking about.
yeah,
Actually, I do, but
yeah.
fuck it. All right, cool. So what's last? You got a couple Strymon pedals
Got a couple
and a weird gray box that looks like it's last in the chain.
Weird gray box is indeed last in the chain. So out of the basic audio, we go into an El Capistan delay pedal. Everybody knows what it is. It's a tape delay thing. I have this favorite switch. So normally I keep it on the fixed mode just for, I don't know, echo, plex, whatever the hell it is. And then the button here switches it to the multi-head mode, so kind of like a space echo. That sort of thing. And it's a Strymon El Capistan. It's awesome. It's simple. And then out of this, we finally go into the Strymon Flint. It really needs no introduction. It's a reverb tremolo thing. So I use this often in, Falling Veil, for example. Stuff like that. Then you put tremolo on. That's it. Actually, one of my favorite sounds is actually when you stack a univibe with the tremolo, so you get two different LFO speeds. Yeah, for sure. So you got like one going slower. It's
something like that would be really nice in stereo. Get the whole like wideness of field.
For sure. It's a Strymon Flint. It's great.
Psyched out, brother.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a great pedal. Eventually, it'd be cool to run this stuff in stereo, but nothing too crazy on the board.
What's the one that's off the board? You want to tell me about that?
Yeah, this weird gray box is just it's a kind of like a Fender twin preamp, so an AB763 preamp, just built out of some spare parts that I had lying around. So it's a full voltage point-to-point circuit, and similar to this, the Tron Pedal, I used it mainly just as a preamp, because sometimes when you're using various backline, you get a really shitty sounding amp, and you can use it to dial in like different tones.
That never happens. Come on.
Never happens. So no preamp, and then with it, but you can get a lot of volume out of it. It's a two preamp. That's what it is. So that's pretty much it for now. And then similar to you, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's always coming in and off the board. But yeah, we're always experimenting with different pedals. And pretty much every pedal you see in front of us has been used throughout the last two, the last record and the last Gold and Silver EP, and some stuff before that. Like this is a very funky and weird pedal that I love. Has a lot of your hair on it. But this is a Montreal Assembly Count to 5, which I got a couple years ago. And this just makes really weird fucking sounds.
Droney stuff, loops on loops.
Yeah, you
half
can
speed, double speed kind of stuff, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's a couple different modes where one mode that I think you used to use it on tour with the Taurus, right?
Yeah, we were doing a tour where I was using the Taurus in that to loop something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It never worked out particularly well for me, but we tried it.
But you can make like little, like kind of like a freeze pedal. You can just make a little sample and then get 3 different pitches out of it if you so desire. Or you can kind of do like just a lot of really cool reverse sounds and just weird fucking stuff.
I think we both have a love affair for these pedals that are really weird but don't necessarily have application within the Elder framework.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like all my most expensive pedals that I spent the most time like finding, I actually very seldomly ever use in this band. Like this pedal, it's kind of hard to find, but super cool. We used it on the on the forthcoming record for just a lot of like the ambient noodly tidbits. And that's pretty much it for this pedal, but there's a Ventress Reverb, which I used on the next album. Also, shout out to this pedal. This is a really cool fuzz pedal, which also is covered in hair.
Maybe close up in the close cam.
Ah, yes. Can you see it here? Yeah, here we go. So this pedal, we actually have a couple of these. This is made by our friend Daniel up in Bergen, Norway. And his company's called Fjord Fuzz. And this is kind of his take on a super fuzz that he designed with the basis of one of our favorite bands, Motorpsycho. Who are
Bent Sather?
Yes. Very nice guy. Killer bassist.
Killer band. If you don't know him,
check
him
out Motorpsycho.
Motorpsycho.
Yes. Yeah. If you like Elder vibes, definitely take a ride on the Motorpsycho. But yeah, he made this for actually Jack, our bassist, for our last studio session, and unfortunately got caught up in customs, so we didn't sadly use it. But it's just a bitchin' bass fuzz, and it just looks really cool. It's got cool knobs. It's huge. So thank you, Daniel. Check out Fjord Fuzz. And that's it. I mean, we have some. I used Westwood on the last two records. I have another basic audio pedal called the Future Man, which is like a color sound overdriver pedal. Also really cool overdrivey fuzz thing, kind of like this, but it's what David Gilmour used on a lot of his recordings. The whammy, it's a whammy. I've used that, but it has weird noises and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. So
back again. So here we are with Mr. Nick DeSalvo's rig rundown. So let's just jump right into it. Let's start off with this wonderful guitar. Do you want to tell me some details about the guitar?
Yeah, sure. So this is my primary guitar that I'm playing in Elder right now. For many years, I was using an SG61 reissue, but I finally ponied up the cash to have a nice guitar made for me by Dunnable. Our buddy Sasha and his partner Aaron, or Jerry, they have a cool shop in LA, friends of ours. So after playing one of his guitars, I think at a festival in Las Vegas or California, I needed to have one. So yeah, I had him build me this one. It's based off of one of their standard body types, the Yeti, and I had it customized to my specs. It's got a swamp ash body, which is pretty light and nice and resonant, maple neck, jumbo frets.
Jumbo?
What the hell is this nut called? Torx or something?
Tusk?
No, it's not Tusk. It's like one of their deluxe. You know, I all the bells and whistles. I had them really put all the nice stuff on for me. It's pretty simple controls. It's only got one tone selector, one tone knob, and one volume knob, and then the pickup selector. And it's got a kill button, which I didn't ask for, but actually they ended up putting in because I think the pick guard was already drilled for that, for the selector to be in this position. But it ended up being pretty cool and kind of useful sometimes.
Yeah.
That's about it. I actually had some other pickups put in other than the standard Direwolf ones that the guitar came with.
And these pickups are?
They're Lawler Imperial humbuckers.
Yeah. Any difference in tone, or obviously?
Yeah, they're not super high output. I guess they're somewhere around like the 10K range, maybe 11K, something like that.
A little lower. I think they're more like classic PAF.
Classic PAF, yeah, for sure. No, it's cool. Gives me a little more headroom. I was having kind of screechy issues with the Direwolf because we're running things really loud often. So, yeah, that's the guitar. I have a couple other guitars, but I think this is the one that I've been using on tours. Normally, we're too cheap to try and bring more than one guitar on a tour, so I'm just going to use this one for this demonstration.
And do you notice any like difference between this and your SG, like in like tuning stability, stuff like that? Because your SG has an incredibly
world of difference. I mean, this guitar just feels incredibly solid compared to the SG. I mean, those are notorious for going out of tune and just being kind of. It's a cool guitar because it's wonky. You can really play with the neck. On this, there's like absolutely no give. I mean, you have to really strain to get a little bit of wobble out of it. Whereas the SG, you just do that and then it would be out of tune immediately.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, for definitely this thing is fucking rock solid and sounds great and plays great.
Check out Dunnable Guitars.
Dunnable Guitars, folks.
All right, I think that's it for the guitar, right? Other specs like scale length, it's like a Fender scale length, 25.5, right?
That I don't know, to be honest. I'm not really that much of a gear nerd when it comes to guitars. So
It's got a little longer scale length,
Longer
25
scale.
and a half. Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the high watt. Let's
take
talk
this
about
out
that.
of here. Yeah, I'm kind of a high watt freak. I got really hooked on them because my first tube amp was a Sound City 120 that had been modded to. I mean, the guy who modded it told me it was going to be like a DR103, which is their 100 watt tube head. But it's actually that Sound City sounded nothing like it because it was super crunchy.
Yeah.
Had a really unique character. I mean, kind of like a high watt where like plenty of chime. It's got like a classic British sound, but kind of a Franken amp. But anyhow, that's what turned me on to high watt, and this is our European backline that we're showing off over here.
Yep.
The Sound City is in the US backline. And so here I have two high watt custom 50s. They're both from the 70s. This one's from 74. This one's from 76, I believe. One's a 4 input. This one's a 2 input. I'm usually using this 4 input because you can jump to the channels to get some more gain out of it and some more EQ possibilities.
Yeah, with that very nice jumper cable.
Awesome jumper cable. It just barely fits. Thanks, Mike. And this is my backup over here. But
Do you notice any difference between like the older 4 input one, which I believe are more desirable, collectible, versus the more modern 2 input ones? Is there any difference?
I mean, I think you can come close to getting exactly the same sound out of both of these, depending on like how you're EQing it.
Yeah.
And they both sound cool. I like this one just because of the jumping possibilities. You can get more gain out of it, and I think it sounds a little less bitey somehow.
Yeah, this one is definitely a little like sharper sounding. Because I used to use this sometimes for practice, and this one's definitely a little brighter or tighter sounding. I don't know. It has a little less like low end somehow, but they sound pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, they sound pretty similar. They're both cool amps.
Yeah.
Running it through this high watt cab, which had Fane, I think Chinese Fane speakers originally when we got it, but we switched them out for some warehouse guitar speakers.
Yeah.
This one's got two like greenback style, the warehouse greenback speakers, and two of their vintage 30 kind of style. Also X pattern. So I think right now the greenback is mic'd up.
Yes.
So that's the cab. I'm just kind of like the whole thing. My whole sound is like a loud British tube amplifier, and then some pedals. It's a pretty classic sound. It's pretty standard. So that's why I really like the high watts. I also like Marshalls, that kind of stuff. But
Also,
just a loud tube amp.
shameless shout out to our friends at High Watt, Arv and crew, for kind of getting this cabs for us.
Yes, as you can see, we have tons of high watt stuff.
Ton of High Watt stuff.
A lot of it, or at least the cabinets, we can thank High Watt for. So
yeah. Also, Warehouse Guitar Dudes, Daniel specifically, for shipping us all these speakers to Berlin. They sound great, and they're on the new record and sound a lot better. So thank you. So Nick, you want to show me what's going on with your pedal board, like the order of operation and such?
yeah, first I'm going into this plus pedal right now, which is kind of like a freeze. It's almost like a piano sustain pedal, but it allows you to freeze the note of the guitar or whatever instrument you're using. You can even like put it into groups of multiple notes so you can build chords on top of each other. This isn't always on my board. In fact, this board is just kind of like, it's now using all the pedals that we're having fun with in the practice space, but not necessarily all on tour. But we figure it's all the cool toys that we can show the viewers. So yeah, it starts off with the plus, which can make kind of like swelling, droning noises, and it goes straight into the Benson preamp. But so you can kind of like sustain a note if you want. And I use that for like the beginning of the Falling Veil, where there's just a droning chord going on. Yeah, just like a weird, not that useful all the time, but it's a cool pedal.
Yeah, it's fucking pretty cool.
And I have that going first into the Benson preamp, like I said, which is kind of giving the grittier tone character to the amp. I'm running it right now pretty clean for me, because the newer material that we're playing has a lot more clean parts, a lot more dynamics than some of the older stuff, which was just straight fuzz all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of using it like a 2-channel amp, with the Benson giving like a gainy channel. So like this would be
like a little crunch to it.
Yeah, totally. And that's kind of like usually the bass tone that I'm using in most Elder songs, like Gemini. Or back in the day, I was just cranking the shit out of an amp. Now I'm using this preamp pedal so that you can have a little more headroom and not blow everyone's face off if you're playing in like a venue in Belgium where you have a 100 decibel limit or something.
Yeah. And like versatility too. That's what I was saying before. That it's nice to have an amp that's a little cleaner and you can like stack a bunch of stuff on top of it and it doesn't turn to mud. So
yeah, absolutely. That's going into this Leila volume pedal. It's an active volume pedal with also a 10 dB boost in it that's currently not being used. So I just use it oftentimes to even just turn off the guitar in between song, or just modulate distortion if you want to go from like a clean tone to a little gritty tone in one fell swoop. Which is what we do at the beginning of Deadroot Stirring. Yeah.
It's like a Band-Aid. It's sweet.
It looks like a big Band-Aid, yeah. But it's cool. That's going into this MXR CAE wah, which is just a classic sounding wah pedal. It's cool. It's got 2 different inductors so that you can switch between like the classic phasal sound, which I think was like just the old Dunlop Hendrix kind of wah sound. And I don't know. I don't know too much about wahs, to be perfectly honest, but it's got another boost if you want to like lift the solos that you're doing with it.
Wait, so it has a built-in boost in it?
It also has a boost that you can take in or out. Like
I didn't actually.
This whole pedal board is kind of obnoxious just because it's got like so many different gain stages, and it goes from like kind of quiet to really loud to louder to even louder all the time. Everything's got a fucking boost in it, and half the time I don't remember what I've got like dialed in or not. So Screechville,
Yeah, I didn't know actually had a boost in it.
Yeah.
So I'm learning something here as well.
Yeah, because some of the wahs, I think they have like weird. I don't know. I've played some wahs where they sound really quiet. So this you can at least like dial in to be the right volume. Yeah.
All right. You want to take us the next in chain or
Yeah.
Or what song do you don't really use a wah pedal that much anymore, right?
I use the wah mostly, honestly, as kind of like an envelope filter.
Yeah.
I'm not I mean, I'll sometimes turn it on for a solo to just like to cut the low end and give the high end a little lift so that it just like sticks out over everything. Or there's some parts like I think from the self-titled, there's like a song where I'm using the wah just as like a high pass filter, I think. No, actually, I don't use it like that. But anyhow, I like to use it just to kind of like not so much to do like the cheesy wah shit, but like to just kind of use it as an envelope filter. I don't use it that much.
And to get further into wah geekdom, do you use a specific inductor more often?
I don't remember which one's which, to be honest. There's like a light that tells you which one is. I think it's like one of those things I'm always playing live, and I'm like, oh, wait, something's wrong with the wah. I'm going to switch the other button, but I don't even remember which one's which. Yeah. No.
Cool.
Yeah. And then that goes into the gain stage of the board, which is Black Art's Coven. It's a 2-in-1 deal. It's their Pharaoh pedal and the Black Forest boost. And the Pharaoh is the pedal that I've been using the longest as a fuzz. It's like on every Elder record, it's kind of like the Elder fuzz tone.
Classic Elder fuzz tone.
Yeah, and I never found a fuzz that I liked it better. And when mine finally busted after years and years of touring, the company sent me this Coven pedal, which is cool. I use the boost sometimes, but there's just so much gain already going on. I don't really always need it. But the Pharaoh, yeah, that's the tone you can hear on like every song, like self-titled stuff. Right up to the new stuff. Yeah. And the boost is cool too. Like I think I use it in the Falling Veil sometimes to go from in the verse into the vocal verse part. A little more nasally.
Yeah. Poke out a little bit.
Yeah. So that's that, and then that goes into this Stomp Underfoot Ram's Head 75. It's
that's a big muff, right?
It's a big muff. Yeah. This company's making big muff I don't know if I don't know if I should call them clones or like rebuilds of old Big Muffs based on the old circuitry. And he's doing like a ton of super specific, like down to the year, down to the faceplate kind of thing. And this one's again another pedal that I had the dude sent to me out of the kindness of his heart, and I fucking love it. It's just like, again, goes from like massive rhythm fuzz tones to I use it for leads right now because I'm using the Pharaoh for all of my like rhythm tones, but. Yeah,
right on.
It's like
and you've had that pedal for a good while too, right? You've used it on Reflections and stuff too, right?
Yeah, I've used this on a couple records, I think. And one of my first pedals ever was a Big Muff, one of the U.S. like silver faceplate Big Muffs. So I've always loved that tone, and I find this to be like way nicer than any actual Big Muff I've ever played. So yeah, it's cool.
Right on.
That's all the fuzz that's going on here. That's going out into this Mooger Fooger 12-stage phaser, which I don't really know what to say about that. I think it's like one of the nicest sounding phasers out there. I don't find too much use for the phaser. It's one of those pedals that like better, use less than more. But I do find it's cool with like leads especially. Yeah, it's a fucking cheesy tone, but it's cool.
That's fucking cool. Yeah, sounds like an airplane or something.
Yeah. But this one gets really crazy too, which is fun, because it's got like this 6 or 12 stage, and you can get it to like modulate really fast. So you can also get it like all sorts of really fucked up tones. That's totally usable and beautiful, isn't it?
Used it on Omens for that one phaser part. Oh shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Whatever it was. Forget what it was.
There's a part on the record, I guess, that'll probably be out by the time anyone sees
like
this.
A laser gun.
Yeah, laser gun, exactly.
Yeah.
That's that.
Right on. It's also huge, which is cool. So from the phaser, what comes next? I actually forget.
Right. This is going into the Empress ecosystem, one of these two big boxy pedals with a bunch of LEDs on it. It's a digital delay pedal that's got 2 delay engines, so you can run them like stacked on top of each other, or do left, right, out, or run them in series if you want to. Like if you're running it as a stereo pedal.
Yeah. Right
now this is mono, but yeah, it's got a bunch of different algorithms for every kind of delay thing you would want, from tape delay, analog delay, digital delay, bunch of weird modulated stuff. There's some ambient modes. I basically only use it for the analog delay and the digital delay, but I have it hooked up to this expression pedal, which is on the far right of the board too, so you can program it to control certain parameters. I use it with the regen so that you can choose how long you want the delay to go on. I think that's a digital mode, so there's no coloration going on, but I also have like some tape stuff going on.
So it doesn't like, you mean it doesn't like oscillate, right?
Yeah, but this one will.
Cool.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of presets, which I find useful for all the songs that have different, even like tempo subdivisions, that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, delay is one of those effects that I just keep getting deeper and deeper into the older I get. First, it was like the MXR carbon copy, just like a very simple, no tap tempo, no nothing. Now there's this.
Yeah.
That's got, again, all these pedals, they have so many fucking parameters, I hardly remember like what I'm doing with it half the time. But it's a cool pedal, it's a cool company, and it's built like a tank. And that's going into another delay, which I haven't never used on the road. I just recently bought this. Is the Maris Polymoon. It's it's kind of made to emulate old rack delays from the 80s, I think, kind of like, and also allows you to get like Frank Zappa weird experimental delay tones and shit, because it's got also like it's got a phaser in it, and there's also a flanger, I think. And it's a pretty deep pedal, like all the Mara stuff that I've just kind of got hooked on recently. I'm using it a lot at home, especially with my synthesizers and just making weird tones, but I really like it. Different. Yeah, you can set this to different. It's almost like a tape head thing, different like rhythms that it's delaying into. And there's all sorts of weird like filtering options. I have the preset pedal up here because I kept getting lost in it, so now I have some presets. It's got like here's a weird one I have. A lot of like weird Blade Runner kind of textures. I think that's like taking the delay signal and running it in fifths, like up a scale somehow.
Step sequence or something. I don't know.
But yeah, it's just another delay pedal that I've been having a lot of fun with recently.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And the last thing in the chain is
you literally just got that. Like
yeah, I just got that. Yeah.
And then
we're on lockdown right now. There's not a lot to do. Luckily, I bought some pedals like right before the virus hit Germany. I've just been spending a lot of time indoors.
Yeah.
With the toys, twisting the knobs.
All right, groovy. So after the Maris, we go into the Empress, the other Empress reverb pedal, right?
Yeah, and this is a pedal I'm not really using that much on the live rig either, but it's nice. It's similar to the Echo system. It's got just a bunch of different reverb algorithms. Yeah. It's also hooked up to the expression pedal, so you can control whatever parameters you want. Right now, I've got it on a swell mode, where the wet and dry is controlled by the expression pedal.
So you have your expression pedal controlling both your Empress pedals.
Yeah. It's got two outs, so it's plugged into both of them right now.
Cool.
Yeah, you can control them together. You can control them independent of each other, depending on what you've got programmed to run with what. But here's the ghost mode, which is cool. That gives the reverb trail a little bit of subtle modulation to kind of make it like spooky somehow.
All right.
That's that. That's the whole board.
It's a pretty cool board.
Yeah,
a lot
man.
of different sounds.
Yeah.
Cool fuzz tones and shit. Well, I think that wraps it up for us.
That wraps it up, yeah.
I think we're going to cut to our main man, Jack, back in the good old USA.
Yeah.
And
sorry we won't see everybody on tour in May like we were planning.
Yeah.
You'll be able to check out these boards in person, loud and live, but situation is as it is.
Yeah.
Crazy reality dictates crazy circumstantial choices, so I guess we're gonna see everyone when we can, but stay safe in there, stay indoors. Stay further away from Mike than I'm standing right now, if you can.
And the new album's coming out on April 24th, so check it out.
Yo, Premier Guitar, Jack from Elder here. About to give you the rig rundown right now. Rig it up! I guess we'll start off with the bass here that I'm playing. Here I have a mid-70s, I believe it's a 76 Rickenbacker 4001. It's a beautiful bass, it plays excellent, and was procured from Michael Risberg, guitarist and elder, from his old guitar shop, or a buddy of his in Connecticut. Love this bass, we'll have it in my casket when I pass. So here's the current board I've been fiddling around with at home. It's pretty much what I use on every tour too. So obviously we're going to start off with the tuner, the TU tuner. I've had that thing forever, and it still works. I love the thing. And here we go. We got the Cali 76 compressor. I have that first in the chain to slam the hell out of my signal and make everything nice and even as far as the levels go. Next is the Earthquaker Devices Grand Orbiter Phaser. We'll throw that on during the jammy parts, just, widen the sound a little bit. Here's the Electromagnetic's Big Muff, the little clone that they made, or the reissue that they made. I actually have a original bubble letter Big Muff, but it's super finicky, and I'm still trying to find somebody who can actually fix it. It proves harder than you would think. Here is Creepy Fingers Fuzz, made by Brad from Fu Manchu. It is a mixture of a muff and a rat. I don't really know many of the specifics, but sounds ripping. Not too gainy, but gives an extra push. It's my main fuzz that I use. Here's the Nightwire, which is a frequency shifting tremolo. Kind of has some weird phasey tremolo effects. It is the effect that's used on the beginning of Vicency on the Gold and Silver sessions. That weird harmonic, like 5/4 picking pattern. And then everything goes through the Sansamp bass driver. Really good for the live setting. It's an excellent DI than, a shitty venue DI that they'll supply you with. And it also lets me go parallel out to what I've been fiddling around with most recently, which is running 2 amps at the same time. And now we'll get to that. Alrighty, so here's my pride and joy. It's a mid-70s Model T. It's in pretty damn good shape. I got it from some dude in California that knew Elder, and he kind of hooked it up with sending it out and everything. I got it about 9 years ago, I think. Still works since day one. I love this thing. It's dirty, too. It's super dirty. So I've been recently balancing it out with my Sun 190L, which is probably the cleanest tube amp I've ever heard. It just doesn't break up at all. So the mixture of the two sounds quite incredible. Also, the Model T just through an Ampeg 8x10 fridge, and playing the 190L through this old blonde Fender 1x15 that I bought in Quincy, Massachusetts a dog's age ago. So, all right, I'm going to turn them on and let them rip and rock and roll. Premier Guitar, Jack from Elder, signing out. Rig it up. That didn't work.